What is up, guys? It's your boy DFS Jimmy bringing you another early week course preview brought to you by our friends over at fansharesports.com. The guys over at Fanshare Sports are listening to every podcast. They're reading every article, aggregating all the sentiment from around the industry each and every week, putting in one easy-to-use place just for you over at fansharesports.com. Make sure you get over there and check those guys out. This week, we have the WGC-Bridgestone Invitational at Firestone Country Club on tap for us to break down. Before we get to that, I want to send a big congratulations and shout out to this guy, Dustin Johnson, getting it done this week in Canada, 1 week removed from his brutal miscut at the British Open. DJ came into Canada. Of course, he's played really well at in the past and finally gets his victory there. Was the heavy betting favorite, was the most heavily tagged golfer on Fanshare Sports, also had the highest point projection over at fansharesports.com. So, again, Dustin Johnson, big congratulations. It sets up really well for the course we're going to break down here in just a second. Without any further ado, let's get into it. WGC-Bridgestone at Firestone, been held here every year since 1999, sans the 2002 edition. A 7,400-yard course, Parkland style, bent grass green, set just outside of Akron, Ohio. Was originally set to be a park for the Firestone Rubber Company employees. Opened in 1929. Really old-timey style type of course. Actually a boring type of golf course in my opinion. It just kind of lays out back and forth, long par fours, difficult course, but just it's very straight and claustrophobic off the tee. Feels claustrophobic to me anyway. As you look, you got a lot of mature trees that line the fairways. Make it, sort of makes your landing zone tighten up. You also notice here at the bottom of the screen, the old school, you have a straight fairway and they just kind of jut the fairway out and stick a bunker there to tighten up that landing zone. You'll see a lot of that this week. The bunkers are definitely in play off of the fairway. And if the greens are firm, you'll see some balls run out off of the greens into the fairway for sure. In terms of how the course plays, let's take a look at the take a look at the wind cut chart here, and we'll see that depending on the weather, in 15 and 16 and in 2013 we had firmer, drier conditions. In 2017, 2014 it was a little more gettable, but regardless, the course always plays over par. Averages just about 3/4 of a stroke over par. Interesting to note though, when you look down here, the course is, I talked about, being claustrophobic. The fairways are actually about 6 yards narrower than your standard course on tour. And this course is also a bit stingy with DraftKings points, not a very scoreable golf course. Yields 11.4 DraftKings points less than the tour average, which is significant. Again, it's maybe speaks more to the fact that we need maybe not look so much at birdies this week and just look more at like your strokes gained tee to green categories, or your par 4, par 5 scoring categories, stuff like that. It's going to make hunting for birdies very difficult, given that there's just going to be so few of them made here this week as compared to maybe other tour events. So let's dig into the card now, and we'll kind of see how the course plays. So long course, 7,400 yards. A lot of your approaches are going to be between the 150 and 200 yard range, probably more along the lines of 175 to 200 in that range for your approaches. Again, lots of long par fours. When you look down here, you've got 7 par fours that are over 450 yards, 4 par fours that are from 400 to 450, and only one that's less than 400 yards. None of them as a group average under par. Very difficult scoring conditions annually at Firestone Country Club. The only hole that averages under par, or a group of holes that average under par, are the 500 to 550 yard par 5s. There's one of them on the course, and you must score on this hole if you're going to contend here. 3% of the field is going to find an eagle. Half of the field is going to find a birdie here, and it's very gettable. It's 526 yards. Even the shortest hitters on tour are not going to have a problem, getting birdie opportunities and eagle opportunities on this hole. So you definitely need to take advantage of this hole, whether it be for DraftKings scoring or for real life, finish position. You guys are definitely going to need to take advantage of the most gettable hole on the golf course. As for the other par 5, it's on the other end of the spectrum. It's not gettable for anybody. 667 yards, an absolute monster, definitely a 3-shot hole, and that's what keeps shorter hitters in this long golf course. While they all will certainly have longer approaches into the greens on these long par 4s, they're all going to be hitting from the same distance for the most part on this par 5. No bomber's going to come out here and run away with the tournament because of this one par 5, right? But it certainly keeps the shorter hitters in here, allowing them the same opportunity as a bomber has at getting a birdie on this the second par 5 of the course. So the rest of the course really comes down to these 7 par 4s, in my opinion. They play an average of a stroke over par. Anybody that can find a way to play these holes under that average is going to give themselves a shot this week. Again, I don't think the tournament's going to run away from anybody. Annually, one of the more difficult places to play. And it's never the type of tournament where, a guy's going to go on a multi-day run of like 64s, right? It's too tough a golf course for that. So where I'm going to be focusing my energy in terms of scoring is the 400 to 450, the 450 plus, and the very short par 5. For the most part, though, it's going to be the 450 plus yard par 4s. You need to succeed on that group of holes if you're going to have success on this course in general. So now that we kind of know what to look for and we kind of see how the course plays, let's take a look at who's had success on this course in the past. We'll start with last year, and right off the bat, you'll notice that there is a very dramatic difference in play style for success to this golf course. Hideki Matsuyama, Charlie Hoffman, Thomas Peters, Rory McIlroy, all big-time bombers. Scott Hend, big-time bombers. And then right in the mix with them, you've got Zach Johnson, Paul Casey, Adam Hadwin, Russell Knox, right? All very short hitters, course management style type of guys, but all of them had success here on this course. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that the premium is on finding the fairway off of the tee, even finding the correct side of the fairway. If you're not on the correct side of the fairway, in some cases, some of the trees kind of block you out from making a run at a flag. The other thing is if you're not in the fairways, it can really hurt your ability to hold some of these greens in firm conditions. Coming out of the rough, the greens have a lot of soft edges, and what I mean by soft edges are like a lot of soft runoffs or like false fronts, false backs, false edges. While it looks like you've got a spot to land the ball there, it'll just trickle away. There's a lot of that around this golf course, and being on the wrong side of the fairway can kind of just put you in an awkward spot to only be able to land on a poor side of the green. So there is definitely an edge or not an edge, but an angle for playing shorter hitters but course management style guys around this track. Zach Johnson, for example, has an excellent course record here, and his game style is not what you'd maybe expect to have success at a long, difficult course like this. 2016, as we click through to take a look at another leaderboard here, you'll see again another mix of bombers and course management style guys. Dustin Johnson, Scott Piercy, Kevin Chappell, Jason Day, all bombers. Get into your shorter hitters: Kuchar, Spieth, McGirt, Lingmerth, Schwartzel, Grace, Zach Johnson. Again, all your shorter type of hitters, course management style guys. So the tops of the leaderboards, you don't have to have a particular skill set to find yourself there. One thing I notice as I've clicked through here is every single year there seems to be 1 or 2 guys that pop up that are sort of no names in the top 10 that are just having good years overall. For example, McGirt was having a great year. In 2016, just playing well above his career average that year. And it showed when he popped up here, and we get to 2015, there'll be another great example of it in Shane Lowry, who ended up winning the event. Right there, Shane Lowry wins the event in 2015. This is the year that he was contending internationally in a lot of events, and it was also the year that he finished right outside or just shy of a U.S. Open victory, Dustin Johnson besting him in that final round. Several weeks later, Shane Lowry pops back up and shows him how it's done at a WGC. So one of the things I look for is recent form. This week, I think, when we talk about stats and course fit, recent form, when you talk about a no-cut WGC event, I think is very important. Guys that have been hot throughout the year, or especially in the last 8-10 weeks leading up to an event, if they're putting together wins, top 5s, top 10 performances, those are the guys I want to focus on, because when you give a strong informed golfer 4 days to work with, the cream's usually going to rise to the top, and that's what we've seen. That's what I see when I look through the leaderboards. year through year. You look at 2015, same thing, mix of bombers, mix of course management guys, and yada yada. You go back to 2014, you get more of the same in mix of bombers. You got Graham McDowell and Ryan Moore mixed in with a whole bunch of bombers. Brant Snedeker mixed in with a whole bunch of bombers at the tops of the leaderboard. 2014, when the course played a bit softer, certainly was more bomber friendly. This year, like I said, it looks to probably play a little more firm, and I'll probably be favoring. Maybe not favoring, but definitely giving more consideration to your shorter course management style hitters. So one more thing, since this course has been played at this event, or this event's been played at this course every single year since 1999, I went ahead and grabbed all the scoring data for all their rounds and their average round scoring for all the rounds they played at this course. This does include 2002, which was at a different course. So there are 4 rounds that kind of don't fit, but it's really old data, so I don't think it applies for any of I don't think it factors in for any of the players that we're concerned with this week, but did want to let you know about it. But what this is all the rounds played and their average round scores, sorted by average round score. And it's interesting that Tiger Woods, who's absolutely owned and dominated this golf course and tournament, scoring average of 68.3 across 59 rounds. But Keegan Bradley, 20 rounds in at this golf tournament, Keegan Bradley with a 68.2 scoring average. Really pretty impressive. But just wanted to take a minute to show you guys. You got some older golfers in here like Davis Love, David Toms, Chris DeMarco, because again, this does go all the way back to 99. But you notice the guys right here at the top: Keegan, Tiger, Rory, Furyk, Fowler, Kuchar. All those guys are going to be the ones that to target this week. But they all those guys find fairways at a higher average than most. Sans maybe Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy in this group. But all those guys find a lot of fairways. They all are good course management players. They're all pretty long, but they all have they've all popped up on those leaderboards we've talked about, and they're all class golfers. But the most interesting to me was that Keegan Bradley has the best all-around scoring average at Firestone Country Club of anybody in the field. So interesting note. I'm sure that he'll get an extra fan share tag for that this week. But guys, that's it for me. Best of luck to you this week at the WGC No Cut event at Firestone. Make sure you give me a follow at DFS Jimmy on Twitter. Make sure you give the guys over at Fanshare Sports a follow on Twitter, and get over there to their website. Check them out. Best of luck this week, guys. See you next week.